All right, awesome. Always throws me for a loop. Anyways, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a conversation with Heather McDonald. So today we're going to be chatting with Heather about all things digital marketing, especially in the major shift we've seen to all things technology and digital in the world since the pandemic began. A lot of small businesses in Canada weren't digitally enabled and had to very quickly become that. And surprisingly, I read a statistics that says still 1/3 of Canadian small businesses don't even have a website. So that's a bit of a, a jarring point considering the world we're living in today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Devison and I am the first Vice President of Business and Professional Women of Greater Moncton. And this is a continuation of a series we've started of Facebook Lives where we want to bring some content and value to you guys, our members and our audience on Facebook. So let me introduce Heather. So Heather is a marketer and business development specialist with big ideas and a budgeting spiritual side that is impacting her business life more and more. Her company, Hala Connected, takes clients who are looking to make a real impact in the world and help them start, build, and grow their businesses through a variety of creative products, services, and training options. From websites to social media and branding, they help clients tell their stories, gain a consistent stream of new clients and customers, and build their dreams. So thank you so much, Heather, for joining us. And I'm very excited to find out what you have to say to us this evening. So welcome and thank you. It's our honor to have you here. And I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. When we first talked about doing lives, I really never pictured me doing one, but this is really, really fun, actually. This is something I teach and train in a lot of different places. I've done a version of this training. It's a really pared down version tonight because usually I have a couple of hours and a whole bunch of back and forth. And today we're going to keep it really, really nice and tight with just some really important messages if you're looking at setting up your marketing for next year. That's the goal. That's where we are right now. Like Amanda said, a lot of people this year, well, everybody all of a sudden realized they had to go online. Even people I've been talking to for years and years, they said, oh, what you do is fun. That's fine. But I don't need that. All of a sudden they all realized, oh, wait, the world can stop. It can change this drastically. And we're never going to go back to a world where we don't realize how drastically the world can change. We will never unring this kind of bell. We've all lived through this now. We all have a collection of masks. We all are used to plexiglass everywhere. And we've all gotten to know our Facebook friends in a very, very different way than we did before this started. So for business owners or people who are working on the messaging for their businesses, a lot of our focus this year changed because what we realized is most people who didn't have marketing put together, the big reason that they didn't have it was because they didn't know what to say. They couldn't put a website together because they just, I'm just a baker. I don't need it. People don't need to know that. People don't care about that. They can come see me. They can get to know me, just by dropping into my bakery. And now that we can't do that, it's how do you take your personality as it really is and put it online? So that is the point of tonight's little discussion. Amanda will be, I cannot see if there's any people anywhere at all. To me, there's just me and Amanda, which
I'm keeping an eye. I have my iPad here. That's why everybody saw me looking down. So
okay.
I have that streaming on there. So if anybody has any questions at any time for Heather, feel free to post a comment and we'll make sure we get to those either during or at the end or whatever. We'll get there. So feel free to ask away.
This is actually like the least intimidating presentation I've done in the last, 6 months or so, because it's
just
like
the two of
me
us
talking to you. So I'm going to share my screen because I made a PowerPoint because that's what I do. And it's one of the quickest and easiest ways for me to get all my points across without getting myself sidetracked. So today we are going to be talking more about brand than we are about Facebook or Instagram or the algorithm or your website or your SEO keywords. I teach all of that stuff. It's all important. But none of it matters if you don't know who you are and what you're saying. That's where it starts. It starts with an understanding of what your brand is. And your brand is so much more than your logo. It's so much more than your fonts and your colors and your brand book. And it's even more than how you speak. Often it's what problems you solve and the way you solve them. So there's a couple of course, there we go. So what makes a brand and what makes a brand good? These are two very different things. The way I've always really encapsulated, there's two really good pop culture examples of what is a brand. So Coke gave us Santa Claus the way we picture him, and they gave us one of the first best branding statements ever, because when you buy Coke, you're not buying diabetes in a bottle, you are buying happy. You're buying happiness. If you want somebody to become happy, you buy them a Coke and now they'll be happy. That's their brand. Their brand is happiness. So Pepsi came along a couple of years later, had a really, really bad year, and took some of their money, the little bit of money they had left, and they went to one of the Mad Men advertising agencies on the exact same street from the show. And they said, well, how are you going to differentiate us? What are you going to do? What's our message? What's our brand? Although that term wasn't used at the time. And they said, well, you can't be happy because somebody else already has happy. So you have to do something else. And the something else they came up with was, we are the voice of the new generation. That did two things very, very quickly. First of all, it gave a message. We are the voice of youth and cool and all of those other things that it just assumes you're happy. And it also made Coke the voice of the old generation without ever having to say that. A lot of people that I talk to in marketing, they don't want to say they're the best at something because they feel like it's detracting from someone else. They don't want to say that they have all of these wonderful things because they think they're bragging or insulting. Well, first of all, marketing is just really artistic bragging. That's all it is. So it's hard to do for yourself sometimes. But when you come down to your brand, what is the emotional impact you want to have? And what makes a brand good? The reason there is brand loyalty comes down to the Mac and the PC. Do you remember those old commercials? I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. And the Mac guy was cute and he had the cool hair and he was in jeans and a hoodie and he looked all relaxed and casual, but still very, obviously upper middle class. And then there was the PC that looked like an even dowdier Bill Gates in a suit that was too big. What Apple sells is snobbery. Absolutely. And I get to say that because I have bought into it. I have drunk the Kool-Aid. I have 2 iPhones that I use for work and an iPad, and I'm on a Mac right now, and Macs everywhere. And I feel something when I go into a business and I open up a MacBook. I feel like it says something about me. That's what makes a brand good. Ask yourself what people are adding to their personal brand by choosing you and not somebody else who does the same thing you do. Once you have that message down, then you have a good brand. There are lots of realtors out there. There are lots of marketers out there. There are lots of bankers out there. There are lots of makers of things and doers of things. What makes each one of us different is what we can add to somebody else's personal brand. If you decided to only wear Lululemon pants all the time, you are making a brand decision and you are telling people a lot about yourself. One of the ways that we get people to break down who they're talking to is we get them to do they create 3 client avatars, and then they have to decide a whole bunch of the demographics and psychographics. One of the most important ones is how does your ideal client vote? Because the way you vote tells us way more than just what your political leanings are. The way you vote and the way you say you vote tells us all kinds of things about your values, about your personal brand, about what's important to you. If you can make a connection between your brand and what's already important to your ideal audience, that is what makes a brand good. So this is where we go through. This is who is your audience. Everybody needs, if you are in business, to have 3 audiences. I haven't come across a company or an industry yet that doesn't have this pattern. I am totally willing to be corrected. I have no problem with that. But it hasn't happened yet. And I've been talking about this now for years. So the way I figured out these three audiences, the avatar we're going to leave for a minute, the money avatar and the soul avatar, was this. When I started Hala in 2012, I was serving people who absolutely lit me up. I loved my clients. I was working with a lot of really small charities, social enterprises, startups, things like that. And I was working every hour on the clock, and I wasn't making any money because none of them had a budget. But you know what? I loved what I did every single day. So I did that for a couple of years and then realized I don't want to be this poor anymore. I don't. This is really hard. I'm working a lot. I'm not seeing my kids, and I need to make a change. So I decided, okay, I'm going to leave that behind and I'm going to go do some government and large corporate work. And I did. And the money was coming in and it was going really, really well. Except I hated my job. It was not creative. It was not fun. It wasn't who I wanted to serve. These people did not care about the work I did. I would hand in stuff and it would be sort of dumbed down and graded down because they weren't looking for creative. They were just looking for functional. Then I realized, what if I had a mix? What if every single week I had a client mix, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, where I have a set of clients who are bringing in the money without me doing a whole lot of work, and a set of clients who are bringing the joy and lighting me up, even if they don't have that much money. The way I can frame this in real estate terms, it's your investors versus your first-time home buyers. For anyone who produces products, it's your wholesale audience versus your retail audience. For just about every type of firm, it could be a partnership or a group of organizations that will be bringing you in a lot of money instead of speaking to one small group at a time. If you are a public speaker, it's the large organizations, the big corporations that you can get in and do a 20-minute talk for thousands of dollars versus the little nurses union that can only pay you a little bit, but you're going to give them something that they need. Just about everybody has those audiences. And the thing is, none of those audiences want the same message. They don't have the same pain points. If I talk in general, what I sell is stress relief. Well, my government corporate clients were not stressed about their marketing. That was not a message that would reach them. What did reach them is we are deadline obsessed and we are efficiency obsessed. So those are the things that I talked about with my money avatar. With my soul avatar, I tell you, you have a cheerleader, you have a partner, and what we do is sell stress relief. Where the avatar came from, first of all, is because I like making up words. And second of all, it's because until you've been in business for probably around 5 years, it really takes a while to mature these ideas. So 3, 4, 5 years, you're not necessarily going to see who your money avatar is and who your soul avatar is. You're going to be struggling to find their specific pain points. You don't have enough data yet. That's all it is. Right now, in your business, if you've been in business for 2 years, you don't have the data about your money avatar and your soul avatar that you could go out and spread that message really wildly, unless you're in a really cool market that just kind of, or you have a really cool brand that takes care of itself. Other than that, it can be a little bit difficult to choose those. I still suggest you try, but you might struggle to a little bit. Your third one, the reason I introduced the avatar is your demographics, your psychographics, where you hang out online. What you need to do for each one of those is you get out a notebook and you say, okay, I'm going to work on my soul avatar. So my soul avatar, I name them all, and some of them they do develop as they go. So let's say my soul avatar's name is Estelle, and she is a business owner who is about 30 years old. She is incredibly passionate about what she does. She's definitely not, working with 10 people. She's in a very, very small business, but she's making money. She has a budget. She lives in town or just outside, and she lives more in the Moncton area than Dieppe and Riverview. Because again, Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview, if you're focused on local, they have 3 very different brands. If somebody says, oh, I live just outside Shediac, you're going to think, oh, they probably have a lot of money. They're in those mansion houses. So you're going to speak a little bit differently when you're dealing with people who live in different areas. If somebody you know lives directly in Moncton, they're going to have a different way of speaking than if they live, let's say, in Albert County or Newton Hillsborough. So each one of those you're going to go through, you're going to give them a name, you're going to give them an age. So if you say, I serve, 20 to 65-year-olds, no, you serve about 8 different markets in there. So you're going to pick your ideal. Who do you want the most? Who do you want us to bring you the most of? So you'll say, oh, well, between 30 and 40 years old. Okay, well, she's 35 then, because a 35-year-old speaks the language of a 30-year-old and speaks the language of a 40-year-old. So she's 35, and in my case, she would own her own business. I do like working with decision makers the most. And then I would say she's going to be somebody similar to me. She's probably a little left-wing leaning, and so she's going to vote Liberal or maybe NDP, depending. Then I think about, what does she hate? What does she love? What does she do in her spare time? How does she like to spend free time and free money? Where does she get her information online? Who does she believe and who does she look up to? And once I've answered all of those questions about this one person, then I can start aiming specific problems. I can address specific problems that she would have. So in her case, the problem that she has that I address, she needs more clients, she needs more customers, and she needs more time. She's wearing too many hats. So that's a message I can now send to her. I can give her the message of, are you wearing too many hats? We can help. Do you need a business partner? We can help. Do you just need more time and more money so you can hire somebody? We can help. That's a pain point, rather than saying, do you need help with your Facebook? Or do you want a website built? Because she had a great website and she didn't really need help with her Facebook. She needed a marketing company. So I figured out her pain points and then was able to sell. There are a lot of her around. There's all kinds of people in those age ranges and those demographics. And I'm able now, because I've honed those messages, to specifically talk to them. Like I said, my money avatar is all about efficiency and all about deadlines and all about coming in under budget. And so even when I'm creating proposals, the people that I have that I'm sending to them are going to be the people that we've done those things for. And the people that I have who are all about having a partner and all of those things, those are the testimonials that they'll get. Those are the client work that I want them to look at. And if it's somebody that's just like me, I know my pain points. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know that I get my information way too much from Apple News. I know that I used to be on Twitter and I'm not anymore. And I like Instagram and I don't like Facebook. All of those things put together, and I'm a business owner. I'm 40. Oh, also, are they married? Do they have children? Considering the fact that I have 3 of them, it's pretty surprising that I forgot that. That's why I'm doing this from my bedroom, because they have the rest of the house. So I know exactly what my pain points are. I know that I have kids. I know that I'm busy. I know all of these things, and I can direct messaging to people just like me. But if you don't set up your messaging in that way, you're going to try to hit too many people with too many different messages, and you'll either spend a whole ton of money, or you're going to bring it down to a point that it's oatmeal. It's just beige. It's not anything exciting and interesting. Once you know who you're talking to, then you need to know, what the heck do you say? That's when we get into features, benefits, and value. Selling on features is really never going to work. One of my big themes at most of our retreats by the end of it is, nobody cares. I know it sounds super positive and awesome, but it's true. We do not really care what chemicals you've used or what chemicals you don't use. We don't, the specific ones. If I know you don't use harmful chemicals, that's a value, that's a benefit. But telling me the 17-syllable chemical name that you don't use doesn't work for me. Your ingredients, your technology, your training, your education, your experience. Those are things that are really important to you. And they tend to be the things we talk about the most. This is how I solve my problem. I use the best of all of these things. And people go, okay, but they're cheaper. It doesn't work. It doesn't connect with people. Those are just features. They're the how you do what you do. We trust that if we believe you, we trust that you can do what you do. And we don't want the education that it takes to figure out how you do it. It's not a message that creates a relationship. Second one is benefits. The benefits are very, very useful. The benefit is, how does what you sell solve a specific problem for a specific person? The value, however, is where the money is. So let's take an example of somebody who makes natural hair shampoo. They could, in all of their marketing, say that they are a high, oh my goodness, I almost said hydroxychloroquine. I've been watching too much news still. I need 2020 to be over. They could be saying that it doesn't have, propylethylol, alkysate, blah, 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 all these big chemical names. That could be their selling feature. They don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this. Some people, a very small niche market, that will work. But if you say chemical free and leaves you with super shiny hair, that's a benefit message. It's two different benefits. You leave the features to the side, you just describe it as chemical free, but the point is to give you really shiny hair. So fantastic. The value is, we sell the confidence for every girls' night out, or in this case, girls' night in. We sell the confidence for great first date hair. That's a value message. So what did they sell? Confidence. All of their messaging, all of their branding, everything. Although, yes, it's a shampoo that comes out of a bottle, their message is confidence. They sell confidence. How do they sell it? By giving you shiny hair. How do they get the shiny hair? By not putting those chemicals in. That's all fine, but what you sell is confidence. So determining the features, and if they can be turned into benefits, because sometimes it's hard to find multiple benefits. So features, if they can be used as benefits, as solutions to a problem, and aimed differently at different markets, aimed differently at your money avatar, your soul avatar, and your avatar, and then creating value statements for each of those. So what does that do for my life is the end of that sentence. What does that do for me overall? Rather than just, okay, my hair is shiny, great. If that doesn't really matter to me, I may not pick it up. But if you tell me I'm going to make you confident on a first date, my fiance would be very upset. But other than that, that's something I would buy. I want that really, the confidence to have the greatest hair possible. And I will not look at price anymore, because what I'm getting out of it is value. If you tell me that it's got certain chemicals or doesn't have certain chemicals, I'm going to go start price shopping you, because I don't have an emotional connection to it. So those of you who have a brand, those of you who are looking for branding, the three messages you need to create some brand messages, a brand message to send to your money avatar, your soul avatar, and your avatar. So your brand message is, we sell, in our case, stress relief. I know that most people who are listening to my brand are very tired and they are very stressed, and we take away both of those issues. That's what I sell on. That is my messaging. Hi, how can we help? We're friendly. We speak in simple language. All of those things are involved in that brand. We're also half female, half male. That is important. So across my social media, you'll see myself, you'll see Alana, sometimes you'll see Robbie. You usually don't see my other team members because they do not want their pictures posted, but we make sure that you're seeing the faces behind. That's part of my brand messaging. Then you're going to figure out 2 or 3 different benefit messages for your money, your soul, and your avatar. And then you're going to figure out 2 or 3 value messages for your money, your soul, and your avatar. Once you have those down, social media marketing literally becomes a matter of speaking to each avatar one day or twice a day in those messages and just keeping them rotating. It becomes very, very, very easy because you already know exactly what you want to say. How you say it is one of the easier parts. Everybody who comes to me that says, I have no idea what to say, I have no idea what to say, I'll say, well, what's your brand? What are your benefits? What problems do you solve? They don't know. And as soon as they know that, they can go Google how to do it. The how is never a problem. The how is the easy part. Determining your brand messages. What is it about your company? What do I add to my personal brand by choosing you instead of everybody else who does what you do? Personally, as a human, what do I add? Personally, as a human, how do I benefit from your products and services? And personally, as a human, how do your products and services save my life globally rather than just solving specific problems? Then we have to look at what's your position in the market. If when you started out, like me, you were one of few people who were actually talking about a lot of the stuff that you're talking about now, your position has likely changed. You used to be the only one around, and now all of a sudden, like there's 47 other health coaches popping up, or there's other gyms popping up, or there's all kinds of there's competitors coming out of the woodwork, and you really have to look at your position. So if you don't know where you are in your overall market, whether that's a Canadian market, an international market, an industrial-based market, a very, very local market. If you don't know who your direct competitors are, as I'm going to look, if I'm going to go look at 5 local shops that sell coffee, they should know who they are in comparison to the other guys. And then if they're finding out that, wait a minute, the other guys have really defined themselves well and we haven't, take their definitions and figure out what makes you different. They've done part of your job for you. If you look at all of them and go, I don't know, we just all do the same thing, I hope they come to me, I'm the cheapest, then I want you to go back to the value statement, because I don't want you selling on price. I don't want you to be the cheapest. I want you to be the best for your audience, and I want you to communicate that to your audience, because your audience is out there. So you need to determine your position in your own marketplace. And then the way you're going to make sure you make those little tiny tweaks. I've had so many people come to me, especially this year when everybody jumped online. And the thing that my clients used to have is they were the one that was online. Everybody else has joined them. They're like, well, we need to set ourselves apart another way. Start looking and look bigger. Look in Australia, look in Connecticut, look in Mexico, see who's doing it right, or see who's changed and grown, and take some inspiration. We are all in our little tiny silos, and there is so much inspiration in the world. There are other people who are like you doing what you're doing. And very often, first of all, you can find them on LinkedIn, in LinkedIn groups. One of the best places to get information and make relationships in a non-competitive kind of arena. So find out who is in your space that's doing it right and take inspiration from them. No, you don't get to rip them off. Absolutely not. I will find you if you try. But figure out who's doing it and figure out how they did it. And then start really, really small. Most people will come and say, I need my website refreshed, and I think I need a new logo. We need to change all of the visual stuff. But very often it's a matter of just changing packaging. Just the packaging, not the whole website, not the whole everything. Sometimes it can be a matter of changing all of the branding. And I've heard people tell me that they took off when they changed their branding. What they don't realize when they're talking is what actually changed, what actually took off was their willingness to talk about their company, their willingness to brag about it, their willingness to put it out there. They started going after bigger opportunities because they felt bigger. So figure out what tweaks you need to make, and then figure out what tweaks would make you feel really, really good. That'll get you going after bigger clients. If you really hate your website and you really need to change it, that doesn't mean you don't need to know your messages and your audience, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be sending people to it. So maybe a little refresh just of your pictures, nothing else, just the pictures. But it probably won't be through visual branding alone. And the reason it won't be is because your branding is attached to an emotion. And if you haven't updated the emotion that you went out with, the visual branding is going to fall flat. So figure out what messages, what word changes. One of my clients couldn't figure out how to connect with a certain audience. So I told her to use the word super once per post, use the word just twice per post, and add 3 emojis to every post. And all of a sudden, it's working amazingly. She changed nothing else. She's using all of her same content, but she added a word super, the word just 2 times, and 2 emojis to 3 emojis, because that's what her audience wants. That's a way to connect with the audience and not change anything else. So figure out what it is that those other people who are doing a really good job are doing, and figure out how you can start really, really small to do the same thing. That way you won't get overwhelmed. And that way it won't feel like you have to throw everything out and start over, unless you actually need a rebrand. There are times you're going to look at all of your branding that you've done and go, no, I need to fix everything. I need everything. I need to toss it all out and start over. When you need to do that are in 4 specific times. If your offering has changed by more than 40%, for example, our strategic services are now a really big part of what we do. So we had to change a lot of our branding. So it wasn't just digital marketing, it's digital marketing and all of these other things. There are ways to change that brand. So if you are now offering a whole bunch of things, if you have a bunch of new lines, if you're selling new things, if you've made new partnerships, it might be time to rebrand. If you look at your brand and you're not connected to it, I've had lots of people go on their site and say, oh, I haven't been on here for years, literally years. They have not been on their own websites. And when they go and look, they're like, ugh, that is not me at all anymore. Well, at that point, you can't just throw up a new website. You're so disconnected from it, you have to start over again. And that's exciting because you already know everything you're not. Everything you're not is what the old brand was. And you get to pivot away from that. If you are looking to completely break into a new market, a new audience, a new geographical area, you may need to rebrand simply because your brand may not resonate. This doesn't mean you need to get rid of it. It might mean you need to make a division of your company, or a new line of products, or a new set of products. Sometimes people who are working with women a lot, especially in the retail world, they'll start selling things for children, or they'll start selling things for prenatal care and postnatal care, things like that. If you're doing that, you're probably going to find a little bit of a rebrand works really, really well to tap into a completely different and larger audience. The last time you know it's time for a rebrand, and I would actually say this is probably the time to get a brand, because if your audience is telling you that you are better than they were expecting, we were really pleasantly surprised that you were so good at this, then your brand has missed the mark. They didn't know that you were awesome in a certain way. That means you didn't communicate it, and you do not have that brand messaging down. So if enough people have told you that they were really surprised you were good, then it is definitely time for you to do a full rebrand from the start and figure out who you are and who you want to be when you grow up. And that is all of the slides. Not all of the presentation, but all the slides. And I'm gonna go back here.
All right, sorry, I'm looking here. Website versus social presence. Where would you invest? Are websites still as relevant? If so, how to optimize use?
Okay, I have strong feelings. Website comes first. Everything matters, but website comes first. Social media serves two really fantastic purposes. One is website traffic. So if you don't have a website, that's going to be a problem. And the second is brand expression in a really cost-effective, really cheap way. But again, it's only brand expression. It's not a fantastic place to sell, and it's really difficult if you sell a price point above $40. $40 and below. And if you are planning on doing this as a side gig or a hobby, fill your boots. Social media is literally all you need, because we just need to know about you. We're buying you. If what you sell is $40 and above, you need a website. We need to know that we can trust you. We need to like you, know you, like you, and trust you for us to make a sale over $40. That price point, by the way, changes by region. I'm talking about in the Maritimes, it's $40. Out west, that would be about $150 to $200. Same type of thing. They'll buy something for $100 on Facebook and not bat an eye. Here we don't. We just don't. They want to see that you've invested in your business, first of all, because Facebook's free, right? So if you haven't even bothered to put up a website, how do I know that you even care about your business? It is something that we hear all of the time. You also don't get to see the full brand experience. I'm scrolling. You're just a post in all of my scrolls. And the third thing is, I don't know if anybody but me remembers the trauma of 2019. There was trauma before 2020, when Facebook was down for about 6.5 hours. In those 6.5 hours, I got about 275 new emails that had no relation to anything else from panicked people going, oh my gosh, I think I need a website. If you are trusting Facebook and social media to be the way you communicate with people, you've just put your business in the hands of another business over which you have zero control. You own your website. You own your email list. Those are the only two things you own. If Facebook hires the wrong person and that person trips over a cord and brings down the whole system, too bad. Nothing you can do. And now you're going to have to start over. So that's why a website with a really effective contact form used to do email building is one of the most important parts of your entire, it is the first step to me of your marketing. So for me, it goes website marketing done really, really well with some blog content for some social media fodder. Social media comes second, and then email marketing comes third. Advertising actually comes fourth. I don't even have, everything else in there was organic. Advertising is our fourth step.
I think too, like I said, I was still surprised by the statistic that a third of Canadian small businesses still don't have a website. Like that's shocking to me, especially now in the pandemic, right? Like the number was bigger prior to, and then like you said, once the pandemic hit, everybody rushed to get a website. Well, 2/3 of companies rushed to get a website. But I think too, people just kind of, for some reason, have a hard time thinking about it in a simplistic terms. Like think about it. If you're looking for something, if you're looking for a product and service in your area, 99% of the time you go on Google, right? Like you're like,
and everybody
Moncton landscapers. And if they don't show up,
they don't exist.
Then they don't exist. Literally don't exist. So it's because you don't know. So if somebody Googles your product or service and you don't show up, then you don't exist. It's the exact same thing. It's the same behavior, but for some reason it becomes more complicated. People get lost in the weeds or something.
For business owners, we completely, I don't know what shorts out in our brains, because I do this too and I get called out on it. We know what we do and we know what's normal, and we assume other people are going to do something different. I don't know why. Like it's not a good, it's a really bad system. So I have people who say, I need to do Google AdWords all the time. I'm like, Google AdWords are super effective in 2 cases and only 2, because what do you do if you're looking for something for yourself and the first 3 things are ads? What do you do, Amanda?
Yeah, you scroll past them.
You scroll past the ads and you go to where?
Where's the first non-sponsored post?
What about the map? Do you go to the map?
Yeah, that too. Yep. Yeah. I've sometimes seen the map, but not usually.
Most people, if it's local, they stop at the map. Mm-hmm. And if you're not on the top 5 of that map, well, the person who was on the top 5 of that map is getting the business.
Yeah.
the map is now become the holy grail, even more than page one. I'm like, I don't care if you can put me on page one. Can you put me on that
on the map?
That's it. Because that's our behavior. We do not work that hard. We're convenience-based humans.
And
So
my annoyance with the map is like, if you're on the list for the map and you don't have the button that says website, I hate that.
Yep.
I will. No, I'm like, nope, nope, because I want to see your website. That's the whole point. I'm trying to check you out. I'm trying to, like, search around. I don't want to go too hard and too deep. Like, I just want to, like, understand. So you could be on that map, but if it still doesn't have the button for the website,
yes, that is a given to me. Like, I forgot that there was the possibility of getting on the map without a website. Like, why would you go through that process and then make me use my phone for calling? Like, I'm not going to. I need to know first, and then maybe send you an email and have a conversation, and then you'll get to know me. And honestly, everybody else's customers are exactly the same way. They really are.
Exactly. And so that's what I think it gets overwhelming. Like you said, some people, it just becomes a daunting task, and that's why they don't end up doing it. But if people take the time to break it down in just bite-sized chunks and just, work away at it, because no digital presence is just not it. It's not the place to be anymore. Like, it's just not. You have to be there. That's where everybody is. If that's what you're doing at home, if everybody's binge watching Netflix and you're scrolling on your phone and you have to restart that episode because you just missed the good part, and now and then you miss it a second time because you are still doom scrolling through Instagram. Like, everybody else is doing that too. So it's not a strategy anymore, and especially with how tough things are now with the pandemic and so many different industries having such a rough go. There has to be every effort. It doesn't have to be insanely expensive. Like, that's the other thing. People think, oh my God, it's insanely expensive. So again, it's having some conversation, having some consultation, break it down in bite-sized chunks. Google your own business.
DIY so much of this stuff. Like, you really can. I know I own a marketing company. I'm supposed to say you're not do that. Do it. Because the thing is, I want you to go out and make enough money with your website that you DIY'd that wasn't fantastic, but the message was good, because then you'll make a lot of money and then you'll hire us to do a really good website for you. If you don't get to that point, you won't ever get to hire us. So yes, do your own website. If you do it, please buy a WordPress template. Don't use Wix. But
that's the thing. There's so many things out there, and it doesn't have to be, your website doesn't have to be 60 pages.
No,
it doesn't have to be this whole big thing. It just exactly just has to be, who are you? Like you said, your value, your message, contact information, so people know where to find you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
start writing some blogs so that you have stuff to put on your Facebook page that gets people to come back to your website, that you get to see all of the things that you do, and the cycle is complete.
And I mean, just to do your own research, the same way you research other companies or other items, do that, except do it for your business, your industry. Google your business. Where do you show up? Like, how far down or how many pages you have to go? Because most people barely go past page 1, but I think 3 clicks is what you get, maybe.
A hint on that now. Oh, you don't even get to, most people don't even go to page 2 now, because the map and the other things have taken over. It's really annoying. What is interesting though is a lot of people, when they Google themselves, they'll actually Google their business name. Or they've gone to their website a bunch of times and they think that they're on the front page of Google. No, you're only on the front page of your Google. Google got to know your computer, and clearing your cache doesn't even work because it's really deep in the algorithm at this point. So borrow somebody else's phone.
Like, and that's what I'm saying. Take a step back as well. Don't just Google your business name, because like, if I'm a potential customer and I don't know you exist, I'm not going to Google your business name. Right. So take the step back and be like, again, like Moncton Landscapers, whatever, Moncton Bakeries, whatever it is you do, or wherever it is you're located, put that in there as broad as can be, because that's what I'm going to do. And I'm probably going to spell it wrong and whatever else. But like, you know what I mean? If you don't show up in that kind of context, then that's the issue, is that the people that don't know you exist still will continue to not know you exist. Because when I you try to look up, random whatever's in Moncton, if you're not there, you're not there. You don't exist to me. So that's the same way with your customers. I think another good avenue for insights for people too is that if you have really great repeat loyal customers, ask them why they value your business. Sometimes it takes talking to them to understand what your brand is, because you're too in the weeds. You know, your most valued, high valued, loyal customers can tell you why they choose you and why they like your business and why they like your products. And, you know, again, you don't want it to be because you're the cheapest. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear those, you
Also,
know.
you can look through your testimonials for repeated words.
Exactly.
That's where I found out I was a cheerleader and positive and made this stuff fun, made really boring shit fun. It like came up numerous times. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. That's, you know what? That is a great brand statement. And that's what we actually do. That's the reality of it. That's not me. People will say, can you make my brand? No, you did. For better or for worse, you did. I can help you shape your mission, vision, values, and image, but I can't make you a brand unless I get to reprogram you, which we can't do yet. So until that day, until you can make all of the humans act a certain way, you are a brand. And right now, that's another really big message is you have a brand. Whether that's good or not. If you don't think you have one, it's bad. That's just the reality of it. Because your brand is one that doesn't attract people. Your brand is one that isn't inviting, that isn't hitting the niches, that isn't whatever, or that isn't active.
And think about it, same thing. People can think about how they interact with brands in their own life. Like, you know, some people are diehard, you know, Heinz ketchup people. Well, why is that? Is Heinz ketchup the cheapest? No, it's not, right? So it's not because of price. So same thing with all the different brands you have in your life. Like you see literally hundreds of them a day, from the, you know, whatever you're washing your face with, to the clothes you put on, to what you see on TV. You're interacting with hundreds, if not thousands, of brands every day. And there's certain ones in your house that, or when you go to the grocery store, that you buy every single time. Well, why is that? You're getting an inherent value for that. You're getting something out of it, or you wouldn't keep doing it, right? Like
And
it's not a reheat.
something to your brand. Like I'm an Apple girl. I'm a CrossFit girl. CrossFit closes. I'm not a gym girl. I can tell you that. But I'm becoming a yoga girl, but I'm becoming a yoga with Adrian girl. Like I have that rabid brand loyalty thing in me. So by just like reverse engineering that in myself, I've been able to figure out how do I get that across to other people.
Exactly. So I think those are the kind of things that, and those are free things that people can do, you know, talk to your loyal clients, Google a broad range of your business or industry or service. You know, think about the way you interact with brands in your own life and what appeals to you about that. Some people only drive certain types of cars. Well, why is that? You know, like there's just different things. Ask yourself those questions, and it's again it's not about features, it's not about price, it's about the value you're getting. So what is the value? And then you try to think, how do you translate that, or how do you communicate that for your own business and your own brand? So what would you recommend, like what people can do starting tomorrow, I guess? Like what are the important things you would say that people should start asking themselves tomorrow?
If you weren't able to picture somebody for the money avatar, the soul avatar, and the Yuvatar, I mean, it's yourself for the Yuvatar. Like you can picture yourself. Go stand in front of the mirror. If you weren't able to get one of the other two, I want you to start breaking down the Yuvatar, focusing not just on demographics, but really picturing them as a person. That is something you can do tomorrow, is develop those full avatars. The next thing you have to do is really figure out, how do you save the world? That's the message that you're going to start selling. And the third thing you can do tomorrow, before I get anybody to start a website with me, the first thing they have to do is go website shopping. You can go website shopping. You can go social media shopping, all of those things, because like I said, it's going to be a few small tweaks that are going to really make a huge difference. Is it more pictures of faces in your social media? Is it more blog posts about these types of topics versus those types of topics? There's all kinds of things out there saying, what are the most important things for us to be talking about? And a lot of people, when they're starting out, when you do any marketing, it's either going to cost you time or money. I don't want you in a deficit of either if what you're doing is bad. So if you looked at everything that as I was going through and you're like, I don't know any of that, then you really, what you need to do tomorrow is take a step back and start looking at that and just take a break. You can call it the holiday break from social media. And you don't announce it because nobody will notice. Everybody else is bombarding you with crap. It's busy out there right now. Take this time and step away and really figure out, what are your benefits? What specific problems do you solve? And what is your value? How do those benefits solve a global problem in your clients' customers' lives? When you have those messages down, you will not believe how quickly stuff starts to snowball, because you know exactly what you want to talk about. And what you're talking about is what they care about. The other thing I'd love for anybody who does have a website to do, go through and find out how many times you started with the word, you started a sentence or had as the subject of a sentence the word I or the word we or the word me. Replace it with you and rewrite the sentence. One of the best marketing tips I could give anybody ever is rewrite all of your copy to start with the word you. If you do that, you are then forced to think about those pain points. You're forced to think about your value. You're forced to think about your messaging, because you don't get to, you care that I use this technique. You probably don't. Like, I know you don't, but I really want to tell you that I use this technique. But when you start trying to frame a sentence in a way that starts with you, you're like, well, you don't care, shoot. And then you drop the sentence. So rewrite everything you can with the word you as the subject. Start, like, if all of this seems like too much, no problem taking a break. Social media will still be there, I promise, when you jump back on. And it's way better that you do that than spinning your wheels and getting frustrated and feeling badly that you're not keeping up all the time, because it's a grind. It is until you plan it. And you can't plan it until you know your messages. And once you know your messages, the planning becomes ridiculously easy.
Yep. So I don't think we have any other questions on Facebook, but is there anything else, any other comments, questions, things you want to leave everybody with?
I do want to say the importance for absolutely anybody of getting, like, looking at developing a business is looking at developing a website. Again, go back to how you use everything. Yes, people do use Facebook recommendations if they think to, but the majority of us find what we shop for on Google. And if you are presenting with retail, you need to be on Google. If you are retail business to business, you can do Google ads. They'll do really, really well. I hate that I have to say this now, but I would start setting aside a budget for advertising. It's about to get costly out there. Whether you're talking about Facebook ads and Instagram ads, even LinkedIn. LinkedIn advertising is really good. You have to have a business page. I don't think you need to spend a ton of time building that page, but it's a really good advertising avenue. But Facebook and Instagram are probably going to get a little bit more expensive next year, just like everything else post-pandemic. So start setting aside that budget and have a budget to grow. Find out your numbers right now. Have Google Analytics on your website, look at your insights, and set goals based on those numbers. So everybody's different. Some people only need 10 clients a year. Some people need 10,000. Figure out how many you need, and then you'll be able to set your goals to get them.
Awesome. And tell the lovely people where they can find you, should they want to contact you or learn more all about you and your business.
Always add a call to action. Give us the next step. Marketing is making somebody do something they didn't plan on doing. Let them know what that's supposed to be. Make sure it's not.
But I want you, Heather, to tell the lovely people where they can find more about you.
Oh, about me. You can find anything about me at hala.agency is my website. I'm going to start with that. So hala.agency, HALA.agency. You can find me online as Hala Connected, HALA Connected. And you can also, we do have a podcast. It's called the Kick-Ass Podcast. It talks about marketing, business, and life, mindset, everything. And you can find that just by searching the Kick-Ass podcast wherever you listen, or go to thekicasspodcast.com.
Yes, and also Heather's a longtime BPW member, so you can always find her kicking around our now virtual events. And also, once we get back to normal, whenever that is, you could actually meet her in person at our monthly dinner meetings. So thank you, Heather. That was awesome. I think we gave a lot of information there. People will have some homework to do for sure on some different things there. People can feel free to continue to post questions. I'm sure you'll take a look and
I will.
and get back to people.
And if anybody has a specific question for me, just put it down in the chat, and we'll in the chat, or you can send me a message or anything. I always answer questions anytime.
Yes, Heather's part of our social media team with BPW as well, so she'll see them pretty quickly as well if you put them there. Yeah, so thank you. That was awesome. Much appreciated. Thanks everyone that joined us this evening. We hope you found something out of it. Feel free to ask questions and join us again soon. We have lots of topics. If you are a member and you would like to be part of our conversation series, feel free to send us a message. Or if you know someone that you think should be part of our conversation series, feel free to send us a message as well. We want to make sure we cover all sorts of women in all sorts of industries with all sorts of interests. So thank you so much again, everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.